Chris Featherstone, Pancakes and Power Slam Show, ladies and gentlemen. I am here to introduce you all. You definitely know who this person is, and I'm excited to talk to him on today. Impact Wrestling has an event coming up in New York, actually, going on this week. And also big events, one of their biggest events of the year, Slammiversary, July 7th in Dallas, Texas. This person has been a very staple name from the management standpoint and from the creative standpoint as of late. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, he's been in the business for over 30 years, television championships, United States championships, Universal championships. He is one of the most decorated stars in the history of professional wrestling. Konnan, how are you tonight, sir?
Yo, what's up? Yeah, we're over here in New York getting ready for our show and the next TV tapings for the next few days, and always good to be here in New York. It's just the people here just so passionate.
Yeah, I was there for the United We Stand event. It was actually in New Jersey, in Rahway, about an hour and 15 minutes from the boroughs. What's your overall thoughts on that event? I think it was a really good event because you have much experience working with the territories starting in the 80s, so you're familiar with that type of feel of just organizations working together as opposed to the WWE being a separate entity. We had WrestlePro, you had Lucha Underground, and of course you had Impact Wrestling. How was it working with a collection of promotions?
It's very difficult because this business has fostered us kind of like an atmosphere of people not working together, people not trusting each other, and so like I work for all these companies, and and I try to get them to work together, but really it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous and sad how much none of them will work at each other because of ego, paranoia, because they don't know the guy. Will sit down, start a dialogue, and know who this guy is. You may need something from him one day, or he may need something from you. It's like I call it the good neighbor policy. You wouldn't want to go on vacation, and because you don't talk to your neighbors or they don't like you, they see somebody ransack your house and don't call the police.
Right.
So, you always want to be able to be on good terms with your neighbors, but it's very hard.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I agree with you. It seems like since WWE has really, been the juggernaut, so to speak, as far as just being a separate entity, it just seems like a lot of promotions don't want to work with each other, and seemingly that would be the best idea, to have a really good, solid competition is working together. And I agree. I think that good neighbor policy is a really good analogy when it comes to really working together. So just let the listeners know what you have in store for the tapings in New York. Any big matches planned?
I don't know. I think we're starting something with the Rascals, so I think we might be doing something with them or the North. I think at these TVs we'll know the direction we're going in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I probably won't. We won't get a good clue. The thing is that everything that we've been doing, like we just finished a feud with Pentagon and Phoenix. Then before that, we had one with the OGs with Kingston and all that, and Homicide, and then before that we had one with OVE with Sammy and the Chris brothers. So it's just like everything we've done has been really good. I'm really proud of everything that we've been able to do, especially in the last year.
I agree with that, and it's the LAX has been, I would say, the most dominant tag team of the past year. Out of the past 13 months, LAX has had the titles for 10 of them. So there's definitely a stake of dominance when it comes to LAX, and I really appreciate that from a twofold standpoint. One, to really bring back the importance of tag teams and tag teams, within major promotions. That's kind of been a lost art, the tag team wrestling. And secondly, just appreciating long title reigns, because I feel a lot of times if you keep hot shotting tag team or just titles, period, it kind of loses the importance of the title. What are your thoughts on just the importance of championships and how it used to be?
Just another thing that I think that it's a shame that championships aren't given the importance that they used to be given. But if that's the way that business is changing, what can you do? And it's sad to see, because it's a good instrument to draw people. It's a good instrument to get people over. So that is kind of sad to see. I try to, like, when I put the title on somebody, I try to keep it on them for a while so it means something, and then when somebody does beat them, it's a big deal. And then they can give the rub to somebody. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, and just from an old school standpoint, the people who beat, like, for instance, Hulk Hogan had the title for a long time. Backlund, San Martino, and although we don't remember Ivan Koloff's or Iron Sheik's reign, they weren't both, neither of them were long. We do remember them being the streak breakers, so to speak, because the title was so important and the person who had it was so big that the people who actually broke the streak was just as important, although they had very small title reigns. And so absolutely. So you have been a part of the creative. That was something that you took this year, right? As far as being a part of the creative team for Impact Wrestling?
Yeah, I just help, recommend stuff. I don't really write the shows. The only thing that I'm directly related, as far as writing, would be LAX.
Mm-hmm. And you have a really, direct influence in just, their booking and just their directions and everything?
Right.
Yeah. So how is it? I mean, you've had the book for a long time in different promotions. How is it working with Impact as far in filling that role?
They write a real good show, so there's not much that I can tell them on that. There's some things I would do different. Like, I thought when Pentagon came in, they gave him the title. I was like, wow, that's cool. It got a lot of attention, and the next day lost it to Austin Aries. And we'll go back to what you talk about. It's like, nothing against Austin. I like him, and he was a good champion. But if you're going to give it to Pentagon, let him ride a little bit, and they didn't. They took it away from but besides stuff like that, I like how they do things. They do they write good stories. They got a real good roster, hard-working roster, and it's a good show. Not because I'm on it. It is.
I agree, and I've been saying this a lot on my show as far as like, hey, if you're not looking at Impact Wrestling, you need to, because I think, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this. Over the past 17 years, this will be the 17th. The Slammiversary pay-per-view will be celebrating the 17th year. And, of course, within these 17 years, there have been a lot of controversy, a lot of ups and downs, times where people thought that, Impact was going to be done, change in management, all different types of stuff. What is so special? But nowadays, there's a feel to Impact that has a rebirth type of feel to it. What is it about Impact Wrestling now that can draw people back in? Because unfortunately, a lot of people have been tainted by all the ups and downs in the promotion.
Yeah, I just think that, there was a high degree of dysfunctionality, inbred in the TNA's DNA before. Some of the people that were here before in positions of leadership weren't making the correct decisions. And I really believe that, when Scott and Don came in, they really changed the roster. And I think that people started to see that Impact was doing a really good job of putting out a better product. And if you watch the show, you actually watch the show, they really were. Yeah. People were willing to give them another chance. And I just think that once they get, and I know they're working on this, and if it does happen, it's really going to be good If they can get on a better platform that isn't Pursuit, which I believe they will, that's going to help image, morale, everything.
Yeah, absolutely. What are goals?
But they've always been kind of like the underdog, and they're still the underdog. But people see that it's an underdog that's really putting a good product, so they're willing to give them another chance. And so I think that might be part of it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that, like you said, the change in management with Scott D'Amore and Don Callis, two people who really, there was the previous management. There were people who understood the business, but with Don Callis and Scott D'Amore, two people who were former wrestlers and have passion for the business, you can feel it from a fan's perspective, the investment that they put in as executives, because they really want the business to succeed. It's just they just don't have an executive role. They want it because they're wrestling fans. And so I agree with you. That's very important. Real quick question for you, just as someone who's been watching wrestling for quite some time. I want to go back to the 1996 Bash at the Beach pay-per-view. And if I'm not mistaken, you went against Ric Flair for the U.S. title, right? You defended the title, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So how was that feeling to just – I don't know if I ever knew this, and I'm interested from your perspective. Now, that was probably one of the biggest, most memorable pay-per-views in WCW history. How was it, one, competing against Ric Flair, almost at the main event? I think it was like a couple matches before the main event. So it was a big, high-profile match, for one. And then for two, what was the backstage feel of Hogan making the turn? Did y'all know about it? Was it a surprise to y'all backstage? What was that feel?
Wrestling Flair was, I always looked up to him. How could you not? He was an incredible performer. It was kind of weird because he was kind of talking to me like in Carney, and I didn't understand what language he was talking in the ring. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of lost out there, to tell you the truth. But when I looked at the match wasn't bad at all. Mm-hmm. And a woman was in it, I believe, also. Yep. And so, I always loved working with her. She was such a really good person that helped me a lot, and Rey Mysterio when we were in ECW, when we were transitioning to WCW, because she was married with Kevin Sullivan. So it was great working with them. And then, of course, working with Flair was great. And I even asked him to do a couple of his Flairisms, like the bump that he takes on his face, and mm-hmm. he did that. And so it was really cool working him. I just didn't understand what he was telling me in the ring, and because he was kind of calling most of the match in the ring like he probably did billions of times. He probably had, so many matches in his head. And I don't know, we didn't know who it was going to be. Like, they really kept that a secret.
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So were people surprised when it was actually Hogan?
Yeah. Super.
Wow. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's definitely a big surprise. So, and my last question to you, you mentioned woman, and I'm really curious of your thoughts on this. Of course, we know the unfortunate Chris Benoit tragedy. I had this conversation on my show recently, and I thought about this question recently as far as Nancy, because even before she was affiliated with Benoit, she was woman, ECW manager, Four Horsemen, Kevin Sullivan as the fallen angel. She had a very established career. Do you think that Nancy Benoit should be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, 1,000%. Like, she was really smart. You got to remember, she grew up in the business at a very young age with Kevin and doing all those crazy promos of the missing link or whatever he was doing, the devil, down there in Florida with Mark Lewin and all that. And so she knew a lot about the business, and so when I first came into ECW, I didn't know anything about American wrestling, really nothing, because I was trained in lucha libre, and I went directly to Mexico, and I was there for 10 years in the Mexican bubble. So I didn't look at the United States. I never really thought about wrestling in the United States to tell you the truth. So when I went to ECW, I was lost. I didn't know the style. And, Paulie put me in with a guy the very first time I went there, the second time against this guy that didn't know Lucha Libre and I didn't know American wrestling. And I was like, bro, why are you putting me in a match like this? He goes, well, I thought you knew how to wrestle American style. And I go, yeah, I speak English? No, I don't. I started in Mexico. And so that's when he started teaming me up like with Rey Mysterio, and they brought in Parka and Psychosis, and those matches were incredible. And then I kind of did something with Sandman. Next thing you know, I was off to WCW. But the short time that I was there, she helped me out a lot. She was really, really, really smart to the business, more than people would know. And so, yeah, definitely, I think she deserves to be there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that just the unfortunate incident, shouldn't stop her accolades, from being in it, especially if she, unfortunately was the victim. She had a decorated career, and I definitely agree with that. Well, definitely a very interesting perspective. I was curious about that, and just, since you had some direct, working and direct, communication.
But here's the thing about that Hall of Fame. It's kind of hard to take that thing seriously because, if they're mad at you, they won't put you in it. Sometimes it looks like they put guys in there that shouldn't even be in it. There's so many guys, and so, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, can you imagine in baseball, like, yeah, let's not vote this guy in because, so they put in the best players regardless, and over there it just seems like if you're on bad terms with them, like how many years was Ultimate Warrior on bad terms with them and they wouldn't put him in until finally, I'm glad it happened before he passed away.
Yeah, I agree with that. Great perspective, and I agree with you. Once again, I've got some tapings coming up in New York, and of course the big event, July 7th, Dallas, Texas, Slammiversary. What is one message that you can give to the fans of what to expect?
That's going to be incredible, like it was last year, and so I'm looking forward to it. That's our big show. I don't know exactly even what match we're going to be in yet, but like I've said, if you checked out the product, I'm right. I'm not being a company shill because I have talked about I've been very honest my whole career. I've been in companies like Impact in the past when the product wasn't good, and I said it wasn't good, But I think the people that watch the show right now will agree with what I'm saying, Great storylines, great in-ring action, just a lot of good people, that can cut promos, and it's just a real good talented roster. So if you haven't checked out the show, check it out and you see exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, right now they're really doing a good job creatively, and there's not a lot of creative frustration here, as there, you know what I'm saying? Like there used to be in the past.
Yeah, I agree, and I like how you all use the backstage as a way to forward storylines too. I really appreciate that. So.
Yeah.
Konnan, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Where can listeners find you on social media?
People can check me out on Twitter at KONNAN5150, and then you can check me out on Fridays on Pursuit with Impact Wrestling or on Twitch.com. And you can also check out my podcast, Keeping It 100 on MLW radio, where we don't just talk about wrestling, but we do politics and pop culture and sports and a little bit of everything. And so check that out, man. And thank you for having me on the show.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Konnan. Have a good night.
All right, bro. Be cool.
Bye-bye.